Well, welcome back to the Communication Mastery Podcast with me, Mark Burlinson. This is where we unleash the power of understanding to build bridges and not boxes, because we know that communication is the soil in which teamwork thrives, and every business needs stronger teamwork. So welcome to today's episode. We're going to look today at personal branding, because your voice really matters. And the reason I picked this is because this is a situation that I find so often when I start working with businesses and with individuals, is understanding what you have to offer, what you bring to the table, what your uniqueness is. That's the starting point of communication mastery. So I've got together, I think, 5 different key elements that are going to help you to define your personal brand, your uniqueness. And well, let's jump straight in. The first thing you need to do in order to define yourself is to identify your core values. So that would be number 1. Identify your core values, because the values that you hold are the foundation of your personal brand, of who you are, how you show up, what matters most to you, what underpins how you come into whatever situation it is, your workplace, or even into the community. So when you figure out your values, what makes you uniquely you in that way, make a list as long as you can. Make a whole, pull out a legal pad and start jotting down what are the things that really matter to me. Take some time to reflect. You may even want to pause the podcast to start doing that. But when you've got your long list, then take a look over it and score each item on that list, maybe out of 10. What's the order of importance? What would you rank as a 10 in your things that really matter? What are the things that are more a 3 or a 4? Because that will rise to the surface, the things that are the most important to you, the highest values. The top 4 or 5 are likely your main core values. And if you pause the podcast and do that, you'll be able to come back to what I'm going to say next with your ideas of what are your main values, your core values that you hold. Because those core values will have the greatest influence on your communication styles and on your decision making, how you show up in any setting. Then secondly, you need to define your uniqueness, because there may be several people in your workplace who would share at least some of your core values. In the wider population, you're probably one of many who would share a similar group of core values to yours. But that doesn't mean that you're just one in a crowd, because you've got skills, you've got life experiences, there's things that you've worked through, challenges that you've overcome that set you apart. So again, pause the podcast right here and jot down some of the more significant things that have happened in your life, some of the things that come to mind. That you can come back to these later when you have more time, but jot down some thoughts on these are some of the life events, some of the things that I've gone through that have helped to define how I am unique and different from others around me, even if we share the same core values. Your specific strengths, your experiences, your breakthroughs are what make you unique. And so as you define your uniqueness, you're completing step 2 of defining and refining your personal brand. We need your voice to be heard with clarity and not trying to be anybody else. So defining your uniqueness is very important. Then the third step, as we take this another step further, is to know your place. So what settings are you designed for? Where do you fit in most? What demographics or maybe common milestones would represent your people? Maybe you're most comfortable around people your own age. Maybe you get along with people who are older than you. Maybe you fit in a completely different demographic. You feel comfortable in a diversity setting, or maybe those who live in a lifestyle setting or a community that's very different from yours. Where you fit, where you want to reach is a key thing. You need to know what your place is, because you're not here for everyone. You're here for some specific settings, and when you can identify what you're drawn to, then you'll be able to step into those places. So, for example, my primary goal is to help and equip small business leaders and non-profit teams. That's what I feel strongly about. That's what I feel I fit into the best, partly because of my life experience, step 2, but also because that's an area that I care deeply about, step 1. And so your target won't be the same as mine, but defining your target is essential, and that is therefore your step 3 out of our 5 steps to defining your personal brand. Once you've completed those 3 basic steps, then step 4 is where you start to get creative. You start to take those raw materials and form them into your story, your description, your understanding of yourself. So craft your story will be step 4, because your story is what engages your people. The people that you are here for, the people that you want to be effective with, need to know your story, need to hear your connection, because there's a great deal of content to your personal narrative, especially if you're as old as me. But there are 2 opposite dangers when you set out to craft your story. The first danger is to believe the lie that your story is not relevant. What does it matter what I've gone through? Well, it matters a great deal to the people that you're important to the people that you are here for. And so it matters to the wider community. It matters to your uniqueness. It matters to your place in the picture in your workplace. And your story is how you fit into the jigsaw puzzle of the teams that you work with and the groups that you belong to. The opposite danger of thinking it's not relevant is to try to tell your whole story to everyone, because you need to select the points that most strongly represent your journey and your relevance to the setting that you're leaning into. Your personal narrative is powerful, provided that you've crafted it and honed it to be compelling and relevant. And so that's the journey that most of us need to take. What stands out in my personal story that reinforces my values, my uniqueness, and my setting? So remember those first 3 steps, and then as you craft your story, draw out the parts that really enable you to get across, why am I here? What am I here to bring? How can I be helpful to others? That's how you create connection. It's how you make a lasting impression with your personal brand. And then finally, step 5, and this is the one that most of us fall down on. You need to consistently tell your story. You need to present yourself cohesively. The challenge is it feels repetitive. I said this last time I met this person, or I said this in the previous meeting I was in, or I keep saying the same things in our business meetings or when we meet as a team. But your voice matters, and your personal brand is unique to you. And so you need to keep saying who you are. You need to keep saying what you're offering. You need to keep saying who you want to benefit and why your offering matters to your people. You know your place. And that's not to put down anybody else who's different, but it's simply to be offering yourself. Do it open-handedly. Don't be demanding in creating space for yourself. Be open, because actually what you have to offer is what creates room for you. Speak it clearly. Speak it openly, speak it with humility, but speak it. Don't let it be missed in the mix. See, your communication mastery really matters to me, and I want you to become who you're designed to be. That's why I do what I do. So you can always ask me questions through my website at markberlinson.com, and I'll answer them in one of our weekly sessions here on the podcast. But as you take the journey to create and to hone your personal brand and your personal story, would you do me a favor, help me, and maybe help somebody else at the same time? Think of somebody else you know right now who would benefit from those 5 steps that we just outlined. And text them right now with a link to this episode. Just pause the podcast, use the share button, and text a friend right now and say, hey, take a listen to this. I just heard it, and I think it'll help you. Because we'll be back next Monday with another episode, but in the meantime, I want as many people as possible to join us on the communication mastery journey. So as you craft your personal brand and hone your story, I wish you all the best. May it be a sense of discovery for you, a sense of excitement as we move forward together. I'll see you next week.